How do you guys do your sparkler exit setup? Hello everybody, welcome to episode 2 of Hart to Hart. I feel like I should do something, Michael, like Hart to Hart. That's too much. You guys, my name is Ben Hartley with Six Figure Photography and Style and Story Creative, and this episode is dedicated, actually this series is dedicated to answering questions off the cuff, on the fly, to give you my perspective, and that's really it, to offer my perspective to help you guys better your business. We are a wedding photography studio here in Columbus, Ohio. Man, we're kind of kicking ass and taking names, and it's a lot of fun. We've failed a lot, we've won a lot, we've learned a lot along the way, and there's a lot of questions I get asked, and this is the opportunity for me to answer them to you one-on-one. Now, when we first started Heart to Heart, we didn't know what to call it, and so I did a little contest. There's a mastermind group that I'm a part of, and I reached out and I asked the members, what should we call this show? And I said, whoever names it gets to ask a specific question on one of the episodes, and I will dedicate an entire episode to you. And so this episode goes out to you, Doug. Doug Kendall, you came up with the name Heart to Heart. And so normally I'm drawing random questions. Again, I love working off the cuff. I love not seeing the questions. And so there's a whole little bucket that we got, and I just start pulling out random questions and I start with those. But on today's episode, it's going directly to Doug. And so he messaged me it. I have not seen it. I won't be pulling it out of a cup today, but I will be reading it off here. And so you have to give me a second while I navigate to this. We're going to answer Doug's question in honor of him naming Heart to Heart. All right, let me figure out where it is. 1 second. A little timer here, a little doo-doo-doo. All right, I found it. This question comes from Doug Kendall. Doug says this. Okay, my question is this. How do you, this is fun, Michael. This is a creative question. This is like a tech question. All right, so he says this. How do you guys do your sparkler exit setup? Right? He says, like, how many flashes are you using? Where are the flashes? What are your camera settings? Do you just let them walk out, or do you stop them? Do you do it several times? Do you prepare the couple? What specific lenses are you using? What certain lenses? Doug says this, we've tried a number of things and we just can't quite master the settings. Doug, thank you for asking. I love answering technical questions. Look, a lot of what I believe in and what I do is all about providing value to other people and also understanding your own value. I believe that success starts with self-worth, and so I'm constantly preaching and like driving this home. I believe it's a given. It is a basic necessity. It is the cost of entry that your work be dope in 2018, because everyone's work is incredible. Like, you just got to understand that your work's got to be incredible. And so I just don't even talk about it, because I think it's the cost of entry. But at the same token, it doesn't mean I don't value it. I value it so much, and so I don't get the opportunity to talk about the creative side of things. I don't get the opportunity to talk about the tech side of things too often. And so when the opportunity arrives, I get jazzed. Let's talk about sparkler exits. This is a trend. Let's just address what he's talking about. This is a trend in weddings, really like 2015 on. Probably there's a few people doing it earlier. We've maybe started to see a little bit of a taper off in 2018, but the couple at the end of the night leaves the reception hall through a tunnel of sparklers that get lit from their friends, family, guests, and they leave at the end of the night. And so these are a particularly challenging situation for a photographer for a number of reasons. For starters, it's dark. It's dark, and so you're dealing with noise issues, you're dealing with high ISO issues, you're dealing with focusing issues in the dark. That's one of the first issues. The second thing is, it tends to happen rather impromptu, and you just never know the situation that you're getting yourself into, right? When they do the sparkler exit, are there going to be 3 sparklers lit, like 3 lumens of light? Are there going to be 40 guests with a ton of sparklers? Even the quality of the sparkler denotes how much light it's going to emit. When they go and they choose a location, is there an overhead street lamp that's also casting light? There's just so many things. What time of day? Is it fully dark? And so it's just really challenging to be able to work off the cuff like that. And then I guess the third issue is like anything can happen. It is a moment that like, it's kind of like the first kiss, but on steroids, because you can't stop it. You can't interrupt it. It's just happening. It's moving, and they're walking, and you're walking backwards, and everyone's screaming, and everyone's drunk. Maybe you may be a little buzzed too, but like it's kind of chaos, right? It's kind of chaos. You're dealing with fire, and so it's very stressful for photographers. Let's break it down. Let's talk about how we do our sparkler exits. Let's get some pictures up. Let's like show ping, ping, ping. Let's like show some photographs of some sparkler exits that we've done. Let's kind of talk about it. A few different ways that you can do a sparkler exit. Doug mentioned here, what's our off-camera lighting like? Well, what if you're not using off-camera lighting? Because you don't have to, right? So you could be using off-camera flash, or you could go all natural. Now, we've done both. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, and I certainly believe that there's a time that would maybe call for off-camera flash versus natural light. And so you just have to be aware of when to go with each. Let me start by saying this. Out of all of the attempts that we've made of it, out of all of our goes, we get more keepers, more winning shots, more shots that feel more authentic and in the moment, that give even the reception from our couples, the way that they feel about the photographs is without using flash. That tends to be the winner, right? And so if you were to tell me there was a sparkler exit at my wedding this Saturday, I would already be thinking in mind, I'm not gonna use flash for it. I'd be going in natural, right? Now you can use flash and you can get great results, really interesting results, but I think when you start introducing flash to a sparkler exit, you're introducing one more bit of chaos to the chaos, one more variable to control in the midst of everything that's out of your control. And again, you can get really cool stuff, but if you're gonna do it, please have a second shooter there that's also shooting natural, right? You can play with your off-camera flash, but also have someone who's shooting natural. I'll address some ways that we could do this. Let's start at the core, the things that will not change. It doesn't matter if you're using flash or you're shooting natural, the thing that will not change is you've got your camera body and you've got a camera. You've got your camera body and you got a lens. I like to shoot with a 35 millimeter. I like to shoot it with a 35 millimeter at f2. 35 millimeter is great. It's a great focal length because it's going to allow me to fit the couple fully in the frame and show context to all the friends and family around them. You can go 50 millimeter, but it tends to be, you got to step back a little bit more to show the context. I really like a 35 millimeter for this reason. It's very documentary style. It feels very photojournalistic. I'm a huge fan of the 35 millimeter when it's a high action type of a thing. It allows you to step back and kind of see a lot of the context, but you can also push in with a 35 millimeter and do like a 3/4 length shot with a couple without too much distortion and have a ton of energy in that photograph. So 35 millimeter. Now I said f2. The reason I go f2 is you need to let in enough light, right? It's going to be low light, dark situation. You need to let in enough light, but also, you know, I don't want to stop down too much. Like I get like the depth of field thing is an issue in regards to being too shallow, right? So the lower your f-stop, 1.4, f2, 1.2. We even have like a 0.95 aperture, right? You're going to deal with things being out of focus, and when you're dealing with low light, a lot of movement, high energy, you almost want there to be a greater chance that you're going to hit focus. So we go to f2. F2 tends to be the sweet spot. It's letting in enough light, but it's also keeping things enough in focus, right? So f2. So from there, let's talk about shutter speed. So with shutter speed, I like to be at a 35 millimeter at 1/125. 1/125th of a second. Is that the proper way to say it? 1/125th of a second is like a nice shutter speed I like to be at. It's going to allow for, as long as you're keeping your camera moving and you are either panning with the couple, you're pacing yourself backwards with the couple, and you're shooting just like boom, 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 you're firing off your shots, you're going to get shots that don't have motion blur in them. It'll allow for 1/125th second as those sparklers are firing off, right? The sparklers are. You're gonna get just the right amount of sparkler light trail as well. And so it tends to be the nice sweet spot. So I know, again, if you had me shoot a sparkler exit right now, it's nighttime, bride and groom are leaving, I'm grabbing my 35mm f2, 1/125th of a second. At that point, what I really recommend that you do is just start with your ISO at like 1600, right? Just start there as a nice little core, start at 1600. As soon as you see a guest light the very first sparkler, I book it to them. I run over that guest and I say, hold that up right here in your face, like hold it right here, hold it like relatively close, right? And I start firing off shots and getting test shots of them. Again, this is without using any sort of flash. I take a picture of them, I look at the back of my camera, and I can tell, do I need to boost my ISO up or down? And that's what I'm gonna know. Now, typically, my guess is my ISO is probably gonna have to go up from 1600, maybe 3200, right? Don't panic. You guys, if you have a modern present camera from 2016 forward that's like a professional camera, I think you're gonna be okay. I think you're gonna be a-okay. How much more so if you have an A7, 3, a Sony A7 III, you got a 5D4, you got an XT2, you got a Nikon D810, 750, like you name it, you're gonna be okay at 3200 ISO. Don't overthink noise. This is one of those photographs too, where a little grit, it adds to the authenticity of the moment. It adds to the realness of the moment. I think it's actually really pleasing. So as soon as that guest lights one, I run over to them and I start taking shots. Again, 35 f2, 1/125th of a second, 1600 ISO. I take a picture. I either move that ISO up or down. As more people start lighting it, it's going to mean the ambient light's going to keep coming up as more and more sparklers. That's why I always test. Ask them to bring it a little bit closer to them to simulate what's going to happen when more people start lighting those up. And so if I see a pocket of 5 people, and all 5 of them got them lit, I go test my settings over there. I'll run over there. Again, this is before the bride and groom have come out, the couples come out. I'll run over to this group of 5 people, and I'll do a couple test shots there. And then I'm essentially good. At that point, I'm pacing myself with the couple. The only prompting that I give my couple is this: enjoy it. Enjoy it. Don't rush. Instead of me saying don't run, slow down, we don't need motion blur. I don't tell my couples that. I just say, instead of don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, I invite them into things. I invite them into enjoy this moment, right? I say, look at the people. I want you to look at the people who you see. I want you to make eye contact with your parents and your friends and family. Enjoy this moment. Remember these people as you're going down, as you're walking through your crowd. You guys remember this time. This was an amazing day. And that's all I say. They may sprint through there, and that is what it is. But I find that when I invite a couple to enjoy the moment, to be present with the moment, it just naturally causes them to slow down a little bit. Now, it doesn't mean they're not going to celebrate. It doesn't mean they're going to scream their face off. It doesn't mean they're not going to pick one another up and dip and kiss, whatever it may be. But I want that to be them. I'm not going to tell somebody dip her in the middle. I'm not going to tell somebody let's do it again. Just enjoy the moment, right? And so at that point, we walk through. Sometimes I'll have my second shooter in the back, behind the couple, showing context of just all the friends and family looking at them while I'm kind of crouched down in front. Sometimes I'll even reverse that and I'll put my second shooter in the front and I'll be at the back. But from there, I just pace backwards with them and I'm just rattling off shots, you guys. I'm rattling off shots. In terms of focus, a lot of it, focus settings, a lot of this depends on the camera that you have. I cannot speak directly to it. I will say this: if you've got a great autofocusing system, you should be able to work with an AI servo. That's essentially going to be, as they're focusing, it's going to be constantly retracking focus rather than a one-shot focus mode that's going to lock in to focus and get it. It's more accurate, but with so much movement happening, by the time it locks in focus, the couple's likely moved. But again, it depends on the camera that you have, the gear that you have, how accurate your AI servo mode is. Another way of saying it is your continuous autofocus, how solid it is, right? Again, if you've got a 2018 camera, 2017 camera, I think you're gonna be okay. I think you're gonna be really good. Okay, that is how I would do a sparkler exit without a flash. Again, take a look at some pics, boom, boom, boom. Here's some examples of it. Now, let's address Doug's question of off-camera flash. When you start introducing off-camera flash, I think you're just asking for trouble, candidly. I mean, you better know off-camera flash like the back of your hand. It better be like your go-to all the time. You know exactly what to do with your speed lights because there's so much chaos, so many variables. And so, well, a way that you could do it is you could start with a flash on your camera and literally just point that camera flash straight up, pull that card out, that little white card, and just have that, right? Just pull that white card up and it's just gonna be bouncing a little fill. You could throw it on TTL, and so you're still exposing probably the same camera settings and it's gonna be hitting your subject. Now, when you do that, you are now introducing an extremely cool light, right, from your flash into the warmth, the warm glow of the, what are they called? Sparklers, there it is. The warm glow of the sparklers, and you're gonna deal with some serious mixed lighting situations. And so if you go this route of pulling that little card up, you gotta gel it, you gotta put a full CTO on there, otherwise you're gonna deal with like this weird blue cast with the orange sparkler. It's gonna start looking green and weird and funky, okay? So you can go that route. It's a very simple way to introduce off-camera flash. The reason we don't do it is it doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel, here's what it does. It doesn't look like how it felt. Sparkler exits have this warmth, this dim glow to them. Yes, there's not this crazy, beautiful catch light necessarily and this perfect highlight and shadow, but it's something entirely different and it's magical and it feels magical. And when your couples look back at those photographs, they want to see something that reminds them of how they felt. And we've discovered that off-camera flash pulls out of it almost. I would say this, when you go black and white though, then you're golden. I think when you start introducing off-camera flash and you convert it to a black and white, it tends to keep that same feeling. Now, the other way that you can go about this is you can go with an on-camera flash, boom, little card pulled up with a backlight. You throw a stand at the very back, right, at the doorway where they're going to be coming back down, and so it now is a backlight. You can throw that up on a stand and have that backlight popping. Again, gel the backlight, full CTO, double stack CTOs. Go like a double full CTO, right? Whatever that would be, I don't know, like a 2x CTO. Make that backlight warm. Here's the problem. You're going to need to balance your ambient light, and what that means is you're at f2 and your ISO is probably pretty high, right? To balance this ambient light to get the sparkler light up. And what that means is even your speed light at its lowest power, 1/128th power, it's probably gonna be crazy bright in the background. You're gonna see in all your photographs this big ball of light in the background. So the two solutions that you have for this is either one, get that light actually out of the frame so you don't physically see the backlight hitting. You don't see that ball of light popping. You actually move it more to the right or to the left and it becomes more of a kicker light. The other thing that you could do is pull that light really far back, right? Move it farther back. And then the other one is when you actually put in a CTO gel, you can even stack it. You can go ND and CTO gel. They make an ND gel for your flash and neutral density filter. And that's going to reduce the amount of light output that that flash is going to be giving. Plus the CTO is going to cut some back too. It's going to dim that light back, but that's it. Man, dude, I just think at the end of the day, why are you causing all this trouble on yourself? Just go natural, be in the moment, be present, because when you're not dealing with all this flash stuff, you're not stressing, you're not yelling at people, you're not yelling at your second shooter, you're not yelling at your assistant, you're not yelling at guests. Like, you just get to be present with the couple. You get to give them really authentic moments that I think they want. That is how I would do a sparkler exit. You guys, thank you so much for being here on episode 2 of Heart to Heart. Look, I guess we'll see you next week. Every single week is a new episode of Heart to Heart. Like, subscribe, comment down below. I want to answer your questions. I want to give you my perspective on your questions. If you haven't seen episode 1, check it out right here. Otherwise, like, subscribe, and dude, smash that bell, right? Get the notification bell on YouTube, smash that bell. We'll see you guys later. Bye.